My name is Agnieszka Golda.
And I'm Jo Law, and welcome to the Virtually Maker Faire 2020 and to our workshop.
So it's really good to see you all here during these extraordinary times, and hope you and your family and your friends are well and safe.
The outbreak of COVID-19 has an enormous and diverse impact on people globally. So many people are feeling overwhelmed, isolated and uncertain. To manage our well-being, a calm approach to everyday life is important.
So one way we can do this is by incorporating creative, mindful practices, activities and projects into our everyday living. And the connections between well-being and engagement with slow, mindful approaches to creative making is more meaningful than ever.
And the title of this workshop suggests what we'll be making today. E felt a magical mushroom. What is that?
That's right. Okay. So, I felt it. This mushroom, originally thinking about the very important role fungi plays in climate change, but also in ecosystems as well. This is how this project started. But I was floating it during isolation while listening to my favorite K-pop band, BTS. That's why it's purple. So I'm sending all purple love to everybody. Then, just to turn it around, then Jo brought in technology and highlighted the mushroom, making it more magical with do-it-yourself electronics.
So today we're going to show you how a slow approach to needle felting and DIY electronics can encourage mindfulness. They can calm the mind, they can express feelings of affection and connectivity to our communities, and also to the natural environment during this time of separation and isolation.
So let's start by looking at some of the materials and tools that we will be using in this workshop and to felt the mushroom. And one of the first materials, obviously, it's wool, white wool. This is Corriedale wool slivers. So slivers is perfect for needle felt and about 30 centimeters long. That's all you need. I also have got some other colours which will be used to make it more fantastic. Purple for the cap and for the stem. So this is about how much wool you will need for the mushroom. We also have 3 needles that I'll be using, and one is very fine one, which is 40, and a 38, and a 32, which is very aggressive needle. So for people that don't know needle felting, a lot of ridges or buds on the needle, they are the ones that are mixing the fibers, the wool fibers for you. So this workshop is slightly different. It's not really about making a refined, traditional, perfect mushroom. It is about focus, it's about mindfulness, and it's about calming your mind. Okay, so I'll start, and Jo can also tell you the story about how this project came about. But before I do that, I'll start on the stand. So rolling it tightly, focusing. You can listen to music, whatever, and just pushing the air out of it. I'm kind of working my fingers towards the center. As I get towards the end, I'm just going to push one of the ends only towards the center and put my fingers on it. You can use, I'm using a very aggressive needle here, that 32. You can actually protect your point about not using any protection is that you're being mindful, so you're not actually going to stab yourself. So I'm poking it through only about 3 times across. I'm going to roll it again, do it again, just to hold it together. It's just securing the fibers. Yeah, and just one more time, rolling it across. Okay, so that's kind of holding it, as you can see. And now I'm going to work on it in a kind of on an angle as well, not to stab myself and also not to pierce the foam too much. And Jo will tell you the story.
Right, so while Agnieszka's making the mushroom stem, I'll tell you the origins of our workshop, the story of this. So this workshop, because we are looking at how art intersects with technology and science to offer a creative response to current global crisis, including well-being and also climate change, it actually inserts A for art in STEM and show how so art can intersect with science to address some of the issues in the STEM sector as well, which includes gender imbalances. So today we have an all-girls team, Agnieszka and myself, and we also have two beautiful assistants. We have Denise, with who's doing a master's in philosophy in media arts, and Steph, who's starting her honours in Bachelor of Science, but coming from a textile and art background. So thank you for being with us today and helping us out. Great. So if you have any questions, send through your comments, send through what your thoughts. That would be really, really great. So we'd love to hear from you. E, felted mushrooms. Apart from E for electronics, there's also E for environment. So this is something that's important for us in terms of why we have chosen the mushroom, why this intersection of art and science and technology can open up creative and imaginative ways of thinking about problem solving. So artists respond to the world in a way that is not just a straightforward problem solving, but also to capture and critique part of the world, the ways we do things, the way we live, and draw attention to something. It's not there necessarily to solve a problem, but probably.
We want to contribute. We want to contribute to the dialogues, don't we?
Yeah, and to kind of really think about, the issues of climate change, for example. Do we have to do the things the way we do in terms of energy, for example? So using DIY electronics here, we are thinking of using renewables. So a lot of electronics is low voltage, so we can actually use things like solar charged batteries with lipos, with lithium polymer, and also with bringing textiles and fibre art of craft, initiatives using all natural materials.
That's right. So in terms of a kind of conceptual underpinning to this project, wool is really important because it's biodegradable. You can even get, focus on ecologically sustainable practice or artistic practice even more so. Where does your wool come from? If it's locally harvested, it's even better. This one is actually from New Zealand. We are in Australia, so there is a little bit of carbon offsetting that we need to do. And you can see that I'm also using a foam to needle felt onto it as well. So ultimately, it should be a recycled foam as well that we can use. All these elements add to thinking about the environment and then responding to and bringing attention to some of the issues.
And the felting technique itself too is very environmental conscious because it's not, people might be familiar with the felting as a fabric that's made through wet felting, which is the consumption of water, I suppose, in most fashion and textile industry is quite
So basically, I'm the battery. You are the battery. We're not drawing any energy from the environment, and we're not using any resources, which is fantastic. The other thing is a kind of an interesting idea around slow textiles. It's a kind of big thing that lots of people talk about. I would have to argue that defining needle felting as slow, it's kind of a little bit contradictory because some of the mushrooms that you see here were made in 2 or 3 hours. And if a painting was made in 2 or 3 hours, you wouldn't say it was a slow painting. This particular workshop is about in terms of needle felting. It's slow for slowing the mind due to its repetition and tactility of the material, right? Through feeling it, through the senses as well, particularly if you're listening to music as well, becomes a kind of a multi-sensory, slow, calming, mindful practice.
And I mean, who doesn't like a mushroom? Very fetching. I want to talk a bit about the mushroom.
Go ahead.
Fungi and mushrooms are sensitive indicators of global climate change. And so they're very important ecologically. Maybe Steph can chime in, having done a bachelor's in science, degree in science. So when I was growing up, I don't know whether it's showing my age, there were only two kingdoms, I think. There was only animal and plants. But fungi today have its own kingdom, along with bacteria has its own kingdom, archaea has its own kingdom. And mushrooms are just so have such diversity of forms, beautiful forms. We are in Australia. We're on the east coast of Australia. We are in Wollongong. That's about 80 kilometres south of Sydney. And the climate here is quite humid. So we are on at Wollongong University on the campus, in the main campus, and we've got a beautiful grounds on campus. And often, different times of the year, we spot very, very interesting mushroom forms of all sorts. And so
there are purple ones as well, actually.
Yeah,
totally purple.
And
stem and all.
Growing on trees, growing on from the mulch and so on. So you can spot mushrooms. I've just got a few because I'm quite excited about mushrooms. So I've got a few guides, and I'm sure in your own area you might have your own guide. So the mushroom guide, which is produced by Department of New South Wales, and these are kind of great books in terms of thinking about, when you actually see mushrooms, what forms they might take. You can identify mushrooms. There's quite a lot of people doing mushrooming. You don't want to poison yourself.
I might just interrupt for a little bit and just say that I'm kind of adding a colour onto the stem just to kind of make it more magical. But as I said, there are actually amazing looking mushrooms. And just to show you, not to kind of pull the wool like that and break it, but hold your hands apart, hold your kind of palm and thumb in this way so you can just pull it out gently that way.
There's obviously, in your own local area, there will be guides, books, on mushrooms. And mushroom, of course, I think most people know they're great. They're very, very important species or type of species for the environment because it helps decay all the organic matters back to simpler forms so that trees and other living things can use. Of course, we eat mushrooms as well. So mushrooms, in terms of the structure, it is, those of you who eat mushrooms, you'll find that, often people say mushroom is the meat for the vegetarian, because the structure of the mushroom itself is not plant, is not cellular-like, and is not like animals' protein. It's closer to insect, the way that the cell are organised. So that's why it has a kind of quite an interesting texture when a lot of mushroom when you break them.
So you can see how passionate Jo is about mushrooms. And this is one of the reasons why many of our collaborative projects incorporate textiles and media arts or electronics, but also we with scientists. So to run this workshop, which we have done before, we actually have invited scientists to talk about the information that Jo has just been telling you about.
Yeah, and probably more in more depth. And
I might just go back to this, just show you that I'm using a different tool that has got the 32 needles on it, and it's getting quite firm, as you can see. But again, I'm watching my fingers and engaging very intensely and intimately with what I'm doing, with the actions of my body and the repetition. So I also work towards the end of the stem and horizontally as well. But towards the top, you can leave it a little bit looser. Yeah. So now, just to give you an idea, there's different kind of stems that have been made before as well. I'm going to move on to a cap. And there's different ways, thousands of ways you can do this. The point is mindfulness, yes? Kind of thinking about what you're doing. So now I'm going to use a purple again corridor slither, and I'm going to roll it slightly differently into a bowl, kind of more into a bowl. So tightly, it can be loose. I'm just moving towards the end, but this time around I'm tucking both ends in. Yeah, moving it. You probably remember this bit. 1, 2, 3. Watching my fingers, engaging. So one of the things with needle felting, it does come from a tradition, or it's related to the tradition of kind of craft circles. But of course, a little bit different than knitting or stitching together is that you can't look up because you will stab yourself. So you can definitely talk, but you need to be looking at what you are doing. Or if you want to make eye contact with somebody, you just basically have to stop and say hi and finish your conversation. So that's the OC health and safety. So that's my securing fibre process, and I'm going to continue like before. So go ahead, Jo.
Well, I just want to finish off with some exciting mushroom facts. When we ran one of these workshops at uni before, there was a nutritionist talking about how research into mushrooms now, you can have mushroom farms in a very, very important source of protein. They also grow in a very sustainable way because not much needs to be moist, but not kind of, a lot of irrigation is needed. But also there's a lot of use of fungi in medicine research, using fungi to kind of grow and for medicine as well. So it's very exciting natural material. And of course, I think most people would have read The Hidden Life of Trees.
Yes, you must.
When there's scientists have actually located what they call the wood wide web. It's a fungi filaments. So that's underneath forests that actually feeds, becomes a kind of communication network for forests, for trees in forests, and also the trees feeds the fungi with sugars, so it maintains the kind of that relationship, but also a great way of maintaining the health, or great species for maintaining the health of the forest. And of course, most of you know that what we call mushroom is what we generally is the fruiting body of the fungus itself. So that's when it comes up from the ground often and spreads spores to kind of make more mushrooms in the network.
So I'll just say that I'm just working it towards the bowl as well, kind of towards a cap, and you basically work across and horizontally and vertically. It's a good idea. Yeah.
And
turn it around. Yeah.
Agnieszka's mentioned crafting circle before, and we should probably talk a little bit about our parent project. So this is one of 6 workshops we're going to start running for the community, bringing art, science and technology together through some of the practices such as needle felting and crochet, and also DIY electronics, to kind of bring people together to talk about, that I think...
And creativity as well,
yeah.
like imagination,
yeah.
rather than just using technology or learning how to use, but yeah, other strategies, definitely.
So I'm hoping our collaborators are watching us on this live streaming workshop. So thank you for thank you to Virtually Maker Faire to help.
Definitely, that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Putting the links up and our website. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
To the Virtually Maker Faire 2020.
Yeah. Which I think what's quite interesting also is how we have, I think, the whole world in the COVID-19 pandemic this year have to respond so quickly to what we often is called social distancing, but really is physical distancing, because we need to be socially connected. So from education, where we are at university, to research, to of course primary and secondary education, to other industries and services, the idea that we have to be isolated physically becomes a big challenge. You know, for teaching, it is often when we can say, okay, technology enhanced teaching can make us connected, but that really highlights the social element of anything that we do as humans.
Yeah, and the activities that, like this one, that usually would have been done together can still be done through, virtually, through digital technology as well. You can express your imagination and feelings through it. You can make it with another person. You can give it to another person as well, or anybody that you admire or anybody that you miss. And it's incredible when you kind of do this process, because the time kind of disappears. The whole concept of time disappears, and you can keep. I just wanted to say with this, with the felt needle felting, you can keep adding to it, and I quite like. So this is with the traditional felt makers, needle felt makers would make this incredibly smooth, but I actually like these prickles and texture in the surface to make it even more kind of expressive, so you can really have fun with it.
I am not up to the latest research on the SARS-CoV-2 virus, but I believe that researchers have done some preliminary studies on how long viruses stay on different surfaces, and I believe that soft surfaces are not, they don't live as long on it, so I don't think people should be worried about sending them to their loved ones. And of course, we washed our hands before we started making these work. So
yeah. You can always take a photograph and send the photograph maybe or something to your loved one, or show it to them through email or Instagram, which brings me to our kind of Instagram site, that if you decide and if you make a mushroom, whether you finish it or not, please share it with us, and there is a link below this screen at the moment where you can actually go and take a photo and submit. But the idea is that don't rush, do it slowly and calmly, and then you can even put it up in stages if you like.
I have a question, Agnieszka.
You have a question?
Yeah, so people watching at home, or they're watching this recording, you probably can't say worldwide, but in Australia, where would they be able to get some of these materials?
Very easily. So, for example, any craft or art shop now carries packs, and fabric shops as well carry packs that are ready for needle felting. You'll get the sponge, you'll get proper wool. So remember, not merino wool, because it's very, very thin and very fine, and that's beautiful for wet felting. A little bit of surface texture for needle, but it will take you a very long time to needle it. Plus it's more expensive.
You should look for needle or dry felting.
Yeah. And also, of course, specialist small businesses which you would want to support in your area as well, local businesses that harvest their own wool, sell it and even dye their own wool, and provide packs and workshops. Very easy to find. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So as you can see, my cap has now turned into a cup, and now I'll take the stem and join it. So basically that's what you end up doing. Again, no glue, no adhesives, but the needle is entangling the fibers together, the top and the bottom.
I might talk a little bit about how we came together with this magical mushroom. I wanted to call it an e-mushroom, but it sounded a bit sort of suspect.
We wanted to call it magic mushrooms. Sounds even worse.
Agnieszka and I have been collaborating for about 5 years now. So Agnieszka is an artist in the textile and installation area. I'm a media artist. I don't know, because people say we're an unlikely couple, maybe. So some of our materials come together is also quite unlikely. So when you said, oh, I wanted to make this mushroom, I made this mushroom, I put some electronics on it. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try it. So we've tried different materials and different things. And in some ways, electronics, which most people know is powered by electricity, and you need things to be conducted through something like metal or carbon, some sort of conductor. So felt is a very great insulator. So bringing the two together has actually been quite difficult. Not so much difficult, but
it's a creative proposition.
Yeah,
Can we do this?
Can we do this? And I think this is really great in terms of collaborating with someone from, say, using a different medium or different discipline, different ways of doing things. So sometimes they have unusual requests, which is always a good challenge, I think. And as well, as Agnieszka mentioned before, we also collaborate with scientists, and that is, when we say you are a textile installation artist and I'm a media artist, we think we're crossing discipline. We're not actually, we're in the same discipline. And when we work with material scientists, environmental scientists, climate scientists, they are very, very different in terms of the way they think and they use materials, but we also find commonalities as well. So bringing art and science together is not really about whether, some people talk about creative problem solving, which is true, but also I from my viewpoint, I think art is a great way of setting problems for different disciplines as well, drawing attention to something maybe haven't thought of before because it's unconventional.
And in terms of STEM and an A in STEM, it's a great way to, through tactile, through touching and feeling, through the, eye-hand coordination, teaching students about science concepts as well, and kind of urgent issues as well, and being creative. I'm just making the bottom, the moss part, and I have this fantastic walls, thanks to Stacey. Hi Stacey, if you're watching, who has ordered wool for us, which is 3 different layers of different corridor wall. So I'm going to try to make the bottom, the grass part, the moss part, and this is a very similar way you can actually make a different type of a top for your mushroom as well. So you can make a flat mushroom top like that, which is the same method, just in a circular motion.
And if you encourage participants they can use their imagination, imagine their mushroom forms, different colours and so on.
Yes, that's right. I mean, we've done quite a bit of research into the amazing shapes and forms that mushrooms can appear in, and this is a very kind of very obvious form, kind of a cap on top of a mushroom. But whoops, I just stepped myself. But there are ones that are cylindrical, that are actually inverted, bright orange, all sorts of different.
Can I show mine?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I was quite inspired by this sort of mushroom. So, and different forms, and so a kind of felted form. I think that people can take a different approach. Sometimes it's quite nice to use the imagination and make a perfect form of mushroom. Some people prefer that, and sometimes it's quite nice to also use a kind of realistic model because it makes you kind of investigate that form of it. That's right. As well. Like,
yeah, and I did want to talk about this. That this is where, if you have skills in felt making, needle felt making, you'll have those where the tightness and the density is very important, and that really adds to the sculptural form. But just for the beginners and thinking about, I don't want to spend, hours or, doing this, you can actually make very soft forms as well, as long as you kind of made them carefully and calmly, and design your own colours and choose your own colours what you want to do.
And I have to say that teaching media arts, I actually have quite a few students who've actually turned to the textile craft, whether it is dry felting or wet felting something, and then using that as a projection service.
Didn't you teach one of your courses with knitting?
Yes, I did. Trying to get students who are unfamiliar with programming to kind of think about coding as a program that often we have used in craft practice. The knitting pattern is a coded pattern, and get people to familiarise themselves through a kind of a language of instructions, but also.
You can also do this as well. You can kind of form things with your hand, and it's really nice in terms of feeling the softness of the wool as well. So I'm just going to mould it a little bit more. Yeah.
Felting is also has been quite popular, I think, in the last 10 years. There's a lot of things in the market where people are kind of have felt balls. The texture is.
But also in contemporary art as well. I mean, one of the amazing artists, Stephanie Metz, for example, with her needle felting forms. If you don't know, check her out. Amazing work. And we have a local famous felt artist as well, Anita Larkin too.
But it is something that a lot of people can do at home as well. You don't have to be an artist.
No, you don't. Yeah.
And it's something about it. So I think it's great going back to the collaboration, because you asked me, say, well, can you do this? Electronics.
Yes.
And something that I might not have thought of myself. Even though I have the know-how, I might never make a mushroom that much up. It's a bit strange. But yeah, so the collaboration is really great for that.
Sometimes you will find when you're felting and you're using this 32 needle, which is the more kind of aggressive needle, crude needle, that your needles will be pulling rather than felting the surface, and that's because you will need a finer needle. It's just basically pulling the tension. It's not felting through because they are too heavy. Mine's not too bad, but I can feel it that if I bring in a finer needle, it will actually now mesh them, felt them more accurately together. You can also work on the side and use it as a drawing tool and sculpting tool where you can see it starts to change the shape as well.
Because you're making 3D forms, aren't you? Right.
Yes, that's right. And some people use forms. So, for example, I just wanted to show you that you can actually, if you're like kind of a little bit more experienced and careful, you can actually use something like environmentally friendly bamboo skewer or a natural material where you can roll your stem that way very, very, very tightly. Yep, so you can do it like that as well. But I decided not to have anything inside. I'm nearly finished.
Is that the bottom?
That's the bottom. It can do with a little bit more work, so just take a couple of more minutes and join it together and then give it to you and see what you can do with it.
Okay. Some other things that we also kind of investigating in the Ecomakers Project will include crocheting, teaching people not only how to crochet but how to crochet a hyperbolic plane. That's for those people who are familiar with some of the art science literature would know that a Latvian mathematician came up with a way of how to crochet a hyperbolic plane. But more later on this. We're looking at handmade, hand-fashioned electronics. So instead of store-bought stuff, how can you make your own electromagnets? How can you make your own speakers? But we're also looking at some other, such as if we want to make a flock of birds, we might look at the biology of the flocking and science.
Yeah, art, science, craft, textiles, media arts, all mixing together. I'm going to join these two now, the same way as I joined the cap and the stem too. And you can see my purple mushroom. This is I purple you to all the BTS army people that are out there and stressing out that BTS has cancelled all the concerts. The waiting well in March and stuff. So people have been very upset. So make a mushroom to make yourself feel better. And I'm nearly done, and I'll pass this on. So it's not bad. The top is very firm. The bottom is actually nearly done as well. And I could probably do it for another 5 minutes, and that will be absolutely fine. So it's not about the smoothness, it's about the expression. You can really use your color in a creative way. Let the layers come through. You can actually sculpt it as well, where you have got different shapes. So if I chose to, I can actually, if you can see, I keep stabbing it in one spot just to give it a little bit more character, a little bit more indentation, and it gives it a personality, because we are thinking about the environment and our extended community, non-human community that's making the world go round, really, isn't it?
I think that, you know, for like in Australia at the moment, most of us are allowed out again. Maybe not so for other parts of the world. But this period of isolation and lockdown, I think, have for many people helped them slow down a bit and actually thinking about what's important, you know, in their lives and their daily living. And I think one of those things is also slowing down as you're in an environment too. I mean, we're lucky to be, you know, on a campus with such beautiful grounds, but often, you know, we hurry here and hurry there. But now, you know, kind of in a period of slowdown, we can actually, you know, when we walk into campus and notice, you know, things are flowering, or maybe
we spotted mushrooms the other day as well.
A stand of mushroom have popped up, and you know, noticing the weather, noticing things that's going on, I think is also part of this mindfulness as well.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is too that sometimes the slowing down, if you're not used to it, can be a little bit stressful. You don't know what to do with yourself. You're starting to overthink things. So this is where this call for crisis support organizations talk about mindful, calm approach, exercise, good food, make stuff with your hands, read a book. So now I'll pass this on to Jo. Okay. I'll just show it. If you can see, this is what it looks like so far. Okay, I purple you.
So now you've taken just over half an hour, I think, or maybe 40 minutes. How long do you think people who might not be so familiar with the techniques, how long do you think that will take them?
I think an hour is fine. Yeah, an hour is good. Yeah. So this one here only took half an hour. It's a little bit soft still, but it also has silk tops on it. So it's a kind of a wild, punky mushroom as well. So you can use different fibers too and be creative. But I think an hour is fine. But the point is that you can keep adding to it. So you can put it down and you can come back to it. So for example, while Jo is putting on the electronics and lighting it up and finishing the final magical touches, I'm going to work on this one.
Okay. I'll just introduce people to a number of different components. So DIY electronics really kind of, you know, as the term is, do it yourself. So there's a lot of things on the, you know, that you can get from the consumer from the shops, but you can also get them online as well. But what you need for this is there's also a lot of materials for sewable electronics. So some people call it soft circuits, electronics designed to be sewn onto garments and also into objects like that. So
I'm just wondering whether we want to swap places, because that's what the. I'll move over there, and you move that.
Okay, so a number of things that you just need for this is some LED sequence or LED lights that's designed to be sewn. So you can see, you probably can't see that well. They're very tiny, but like all LEDs, it's got a positive and a negative. So you just make sure you know which one's which. And like I said before, as Agnieszka has asked an unusual request to have conductive material with wool, which is the insulator. Normally with sewable electronics, we use something like a conductive thread that's made out of steel. But with wool like this, it's not going to work so well. So I'm going to use a silver wire. So you can get it from a craft store. So make sure the wire is not insulated. So this is just bare wire. Do you think you can pass me my multimeter over there?
Which one? That one?
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so you don't need a multimeter, but if you do have one, you can use it to test, using the continuity to test that the wire is not insulated by just putting the probe in there and it beeps or not. I don't have my stuff.
What are you looking for?
My scissors.
Yeah, just here.
Okay, so because the wire's so thin, you can just use normal scissors or wire cutter. So I'm going to use this quite stiff. It's not the best thing to sew with, but it works very well for our this purpose. So that's conductive. It's not. Can you hear that noise? So that's a conductivity test, which means that it's not insulated, and we can sew with it. We don't have any problems with, don't have to strip the wires back. So
so a bare wire. People would be looking for a bare wire, right? Yeah.
So with normally electronics have a lot of soldering, but sewable electronics, as the term implies, is sewable. So we don't actually need to solder things. So what I'm doing is I'm putting it through the holes of the LED sequence with the wire, and I'm just twisting it so it secures it. It's a bit hard to see because it's so tiny. It's not hard to figure out. So that's there. Just do another one quickly. With wires as well, if you want to have silver wires and you want to be eco-friendly, you can find wires not just from the craft store. You can find recycled silver, which has been recycled, sources. So it's actually quite. Then it makes the whole project much more logically sound. So I saw some silver wire from different gauges. So jewellery wires and that as well. That's recycled.
So, it's interesting when one engages in a project about ecology and climate change, and then the whole idea around what materials we use and how sustainable they are becomes part of the problem, or something to consider and respond to it as well. So that's why Jo is talking about finding particular recycled wires as well, because it doesn't actually, it's kind of counterproductive if you have to go and mine something to create a work about environment. Yeah.
So there's a question. Is there a more environmentally friendly way to colour the wool than to use synthetic dyes?
And Steph, you should be able to answer that one as well. So yes, of course. Wool is very absorbent and absolutely loves natural dyes. there is a long history of using natural dyes and protein fibers such as wool. So I encourage you to investigate the different, and the recipes are everywhere. You can really find them. The interesting part about natural dyes and wool is that you can actually go ultimate eco, where you're using no mordants and no chemicals to actually fasten the color to the fiber. So there's a huge range of natural dyes and wool practices. If you are really interested in what I call purist approach to natural dyeing, wool and silk, because silk is also a natural fiber, have a look at India Flint's site, because she is the prophet, the guru of eco print, where she uses no mordants, no chemicals to bind the colour.
So now I just put the wires on both sides, and I'm just briefly connected to the battery, so I make sure that the connectivity is actually it's got continuity, so it should be fine to sew on. So it's just, this part is just sewing. You might want a needle that's a little bit bigger, because sewing onto felted wool like that is not that easy, but we always rise to the challenge. Pressure of threading a needle.
One of the best, I think, fibers so far, that in existence is hemp. Yeah, we have another question.
Someone just wants you to repeat who the natural guy guru is.
Okay, a woman, India Flint. But if you leave a comment, a question down below, we will be able to respond to it as well. Yeah, that's it. You can find her on the website, but also we can provide you with that as well. So you're looking for processes that minimize an impact on the environment, and natural dyeing particular processes are very, very good. You can even use tea bags and coffee and tea and turmeric, domestic spaces as well. This is what I'm interested in as well. I did quite a lot of dyeing with frozen berries as well.
Avocado pits.
Avocado pits as well, that's right. And there are some companies that do create synthetic dyes, but they have minimized the chemical impact on the environment as well. But natural dyes are very beautiful, don't you think, Stephanie?
Yes. Especially eucalyptus.
Eucalyptus, there you go. In Australia, there's a big practice with eucalyptus or native plants. Casuarina, which is like a Christmas tree, if you like, pine needle tree as well, and many other trees that you can use locally. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to use foliage and leaves, you can actually use ones that have fallen to the ground as well. Do be respectful and careful how you trim the trees and how you remove the foliage if you're using it fresh. And it's very much part of this mindful practice, because you're walking in the environment and you are collecting things, similar to this workshop where you're kind of observing. We were looking for mushrooms. You have to walk carefully and feel the ground. For us, we're also feeling the country that we walk on as well, and we engage with through making. And Steph's research is around indigenous knowledge and cycles of time through the dyeing as well. So something slightly different now in chemistry, but that's what I remember from creative arts as well.
Very much the same.
Yeah.
And just piggybacking on that, in terms of electronics too, you can make choices in what, like I talked about the recycled wire, but in terms of electronics, I also source my tools and materials from, and I don't know whether we're allowed to say people's firm's name, but people who know will know. They make all their most of their electronics onshore, which means they're not outsourcing it, they're making it, they're creating jobs locally. And they're sustainable as well. So in terms of power source, so now I've sewn the wires with the LED onto the mushrooms very roughly. The great thing about sewing wires is that you don't have to worry about the thread. It's quite easy to thread through. But you can also hide it if you want to. But the important thing about sewing the two sides of the wires on is not to cross them, because they're bare wires. They conduct, so you don't want to short your circuit. So what you need to do is actually then look at which one is the positive side and which one's the negative side, and connect it to the batteries. And now you can see that the light is on, the LED, very, very bright. And they're only driving with 3 volts as well, which is low energy. What I'm using here is called a lithium polymer battery that can be charged, as I said before. You can actually get solar chargers, and this is a very, very low voltage, 3 volts solar power. You can use that to charge a LiPo, which means they're not using batteries that you're going to throw away after you finish. So you can actually have that by your window during the day, charge it, turn it on at night if you want to. So that's me concluded. Would you like questions? Yeah.
Are there any mushrooms that light up like that in the natural world?
Yes, lots of mushrooms with natural bioluminescence. There are some in Australia, and often the light's kind of blue-ish and green as well. There had been some great documentaries on mushrooms. There's one that came out recently. I think it's called The Kingdom. I think there's a few films called The Kingdom, so look up it's about the mushrooms. And of course, BBC had produced one on bioluminescence, and a lot of that's focused on mushrooms. But I'm not a scientist, so I don't remember the names of the species, but you can find them, and they're usually blue.
That's why we collaborate with scientists to find out the knowledge, the true knowledge, the facts.
I think it's actually in that handbook. But collaborating also with textiles and electronics means that we can make things do different, make things do unusual things. Once you've kind of got the electricity with the fabric, which means that you can attach other things to it, you can put sensors to it, which means you might turn on, instead of a switch, you might turn on if you want to put a sensor to it, you might touch it, it lights up. You can put temperature sensors in it, it might light up at a certain time. So you can actually do a lot more to it than just put lights together.
And you can create big environments as well, where you can walk in and see these funny little creatures that respond to you as well by lighting up or changing the atmosphere of the room as well. Yeah. So what I was thinking, that as we get closer towards the end, what we might do is turn the lights off and kind of end on the glowing mushroom. Hopefully that will work. Okay. So just in terms of summarizing our project, there are many facets to it, and we have a question.
Somebody wants to know more about the Ecomakers Project, so you're already on the right.
Okay. Well, the Ecomakers Project is part of the Global Challenges project, Keystone Project, Future Makers at University of Wollongong. There are many projects that are intersecting and contributing to this space. Our thing is, as Jo was mentioning before, inserting the A into STEM around issues of gender imbalance, but also creativity and creative thinking in sciences as well. Technology, collaboration with scientists to raise awareness and respond in a creative way to some of the key issues that we are facing. So while we were doing this project, coronavirus kicked in, and of course making with your hands and working with something that's kind of soft and repetitive also relates to current issues around mental well-being as well. So that kind of added another facet to the project as well. But part of the project, we are going to host a number of workshops. Some of them will be digital and going online as well, like now, but also hopefully as the restrictions go down, we can do physical as well.
Yeah, so we were planning to do a whole host of physical workshops together, but this has given us an opportunity to do this live streaming for Maker Faire, which is really, really great.
Yeah.
And we've nearly...
So we're going to turn the lights off now and see whether we can glow. And thank you so much for being here, and make some mushrooms and put them onto the Instagram side so we can have a look. And hopefully, if there's plenty of mushrooms, maybe we can curate an exhibition of mushrooms around the world, similar to the coral installation as well that's been going around. This one has environmental, but also internal psychological and emotional aspects to it as well. So hopefully you can see them. And we are building up a family. Any questions, let us know. Any suggestions that you have, how we can improve our live streaming, that would be great as well. Because this is the first time that we've done it. So, and want to say again a great big thank you to the Makers Faire, virtually Makers Faire 2020. They've been so supportive to Global Challenges, Your W, and of course Denise and Steph, who have been watching and moderating and lighting our faces in the most beautiful possible way. Much appreciated.
I'll be lit by mushrooms.
Yeah. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and we're now going to finish our live stream very soon, a couple of minutes, and go on to and watch other workshops that are part of the Makers Faire, because I did notice there was do-it-yourself costume making that's coming up very soon. So hopefully we'll see you in that space.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, very question. Yes, go ahead.
What is the best way to contact you?
Through YouTube at the moment?
Through YouTube, yes. But if you go into the University of Wollongong site, you will find our emails there, Agnieszka, Golda and Jo, and we can respond to you as well. Thank you. Bye. Keep safe.
Yeah.
Be healthy. And bye.